Hey guys! Today we are flipping through the page of my new finished sketchbook. This sketchbook contains mainly gouache works, but there are also a couple of exceptions, in particular done with alcohol markers. So, without further ado, let's get started! The sketchbook that I finished is this Daler Rowney sketchbook that I got in UK for a very discounted price. And this is a multimedia sketchbook in format A5 with 12 pages inside, and the thickness of the page is 300 grams meter square. It is a 100% cellulose sketchbook and it belongs to the line Aquafine, and the pages are quite textured. First work that I did was this landscape. Actually, it was a color study. For this work, I use a reference that I found in an art book that I have in my collection. I used very cheap gouache to realize it, in particular the Montmartre gouache that I showed in my channel several times. I have to say that I quite like how this work turned out. It was my first attempt with gouache after primary school, so I have to say that I am quite satisfied. I love how the color blends together actually. Of course, these gouache are very cheap and are just kids gouache, so of course they are quite transparent. But I have to say that they were still quite vibrant and I like the final result. Now, flipping the page, you can see that I left a blank page actually on the other side, and I did it for all my works because I noticed that with the water medium actually the page bends and I didn't want to ruin the work on the other side. And also I didn't want the two pages to stick together or transfer some color to the new work on the other page. I have done this second work from imagination and I try to apply all the principles that I learned in the previous color study, but actually I didn't like it at all, especially the sky is not homogeneous, and then I made a mess with the flowers, and I have to say that the white was quite transparent, so it wasn't even very easy to adjust the errors, and the colors didn't layer too well. As a third work, actually, I did another study from a book. I didn't remember which art book I used. I think Studio Ghibli art book, but I'm not sure. And as you can see, it was done in August 2022, so quite a while after the first work. I have to say that I like how I worked with this color and how I blend the colors together. Also, I like the different tones and hues that I used to realize it. The only thing that really didn't like was the tree that seems to float around. I wasn't able to do it properly because I copied it from the reference photo, but actually mine seems really just fly around and not on the ground. I like how soft the background is, so I have to say that the final result was quite satisfying. My fourth work in this sketchbook was food. And if you know my channel, you know that I love drawing food, and I decided to take a reference from The Art of Luca. That was one of my favorite Pixar movie of all time. And also this represents one of my favorite dish from Italy, so pesto pasta. And always using the very cheap gouache, I try to do this color study. And actually, I like how it turns out. Proportion can be done better and also some color can be layered more homogeneously, but in the end I didn't dislike how it turns out. Here, my first ever work done with alcohol markers. In particular, I just went back home after that I got them from Lidl and I wanted to try them out immediately. So I took the first sketchbook that I found, that was this one, and I tried them out. This is another study that I did using as a reference the art of Luca, and actually I didn't like how it turns out. There are so many different errors. The perspective is completely out of the place, and also how the alcohol markers works with this very textured paper was not the best, and I didn't like how it turns out. And as you can see here, all the colors also bleeds through the page, even if the page was very thick, but it was a good way to try them out for the first time. Then I did a second attempt with the alcohol markers and inks, and actually I like it more. This was done with a reference, but then a lot from imagination too. And I love how I work both with the alcohol markers and with the white and black ink together to give this kind of very stylized illustration feeling. And it's a technique that actually I would like to use more for future works, especially architectural future works. But I also realized while I was doing this work that actually this paper was not the best with alcohol markers, and that I have to change paper and try this medium on other sketchbooks and other papers. So this was the last work that I did in this sketchbook that was done with this medium. And also in this case you can see some bleeds through the page. Then I did a work using for the first time Carandash Gouache studio set that I got in an art shop here in Helsinki. I was so curious to find how they work and how transparent they were, and as you can see they are quite transparent. It seems almost done with watercolor, but the vibrancy is just amazing. And I decided to take a photo reference for this and did a little study. I want to use as many colors as I can, so I decided to do this kind of Holland landscape with lots of different colored flowers in it. And I like how also the sky turns out and how the light was. Then here a study that I did from my neighbor Totoro art book. That day I want just to study clouds, and in particular I think that Studio Ghibli artists do such a good job painting clouds, and I wanted to do a study from one of the Studio Ghibli books that I have, and so I decided to take this picture and try to reproduce it. And I have to say that I like the final result. Not the best, but I use also the very cheap kids set, so I couldn't have a completely homogeneous and completely opaque layer. But this color works quite well to do at least the clouds part. I don't like so much the sky, but I have to say that all the other parts of the painting are quite good. And I also enhance a little bit the shapes of the flowers with black ink using the Sakura pen in particular. Here another Studio Ghibli study that I did from my neighbor Totoro art book, and I decided to do these very cute characters. Actually, I really like them and I wanted so bad to represent them. And this work take a special place in my heart because it was one of the first videos that I did here for my channel. So for that reason, it has a really special place for me. It's not perfect, it's very stylized. I did it very quickly with very cheap Montmartre gouache, but in the end what is important is the cuteness of the character, and I think that I got there in this little piece of work, so I was quite happy with the result. Here another study that I did in my channel. That day I want to study autumn colors. In particular here in Finland, autumn is very short, but the season has such beautiful color. And I wanted to study a little bit the Finnish forest and the colors that represent the season. I took also for this work my very cheap Montmartre gouache set, and I tried to do this study to try to understand how color and foliage works, especially in a forest environment. I also record a video for you in the channel. In case you want to watch it, it's still on the channel and you can see all the process that I used to realize this work. The thing that I like the most is the background and the color contrast between the foliages and all the very orangey color and the background that was a bluish greenish color. Here another work that I did for my channel. I realized this work because I wanted to talk to you about the winter finish, all the pros and the cons. And I decided to take a photo reference that I really love, especially for the lighting and the complementary use of the color, the blue and the orange together. This was, I think, the first ever work that I did with the professional Holbein gouache set that I got in Japan, so it was the first time trying them out. And in this particular work, I tried to layer them down differently, to try to reach different results, like very transparent in the sky, as you can see, putting a lot of water in the color, and then a more opaque kind of layer in the front part, using very few amount of water. And I really like how the lights turn out in the end and the final mood and the general mood that this work has. So I was quite satisfied about that. And you can find also the complete process video here on the channel. And last but not the least, a little bit of fan art. In fact, I love Lord of the Rings and I especially appreciate the Hobbitville set design. So I found a photo reference online and I decided to try to do a little Hobbitville house. In this work, the most difficult part for me was grass for sure, and also flowers, and try to give some variety. I think that I could detail this work a lot more if I had more time, but I remember that was a Sunday and I had just like less than 1 hour. So I grabbed my Holbein color and I just started out this work. I couldn't finish it properly as I would like, but I think that there is room to do a lot more of details and differentiate more the flowers and the grass to reach also a more realistic kind of result. But on the other side, this paper is not very good quality, I think, and is not thick enough to bear other layers of gouache. So I think that just to avoid to make a really big mess, I just let it like it is. And that's it, guys. These were all the works that I did in this sketchbook. It takes me quite a long time to finish it, I think a couple of years. But I really enjoy using this sketchbook. In fact, I have such a good memories related to the painting that I did inside. And also, as I said, there is a special place in my heart because many of the first videos that I did here on the channel was actually recording during the realization of some of the paintings inside this sketchbook. Let me know in a comment below if you would like to see more sketchbook tours here on the channel and if you like them, and also I'm very curious to know which of these paintings is your favorite one. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to don't miss any other content. See you next time. Moi moi!